some spirits are trapped on our world because of their strong belief systems, which did not allow them to realize they're dead, then how are beliefs influencing them when they don't have a body? Do beliefs exist as energy or in spirit level? Does human personality exist in spirit also?
Human personality can be projected from spirit. It doesn't really exist for the being in the same way that it does when you are experiencing a physical life. But the strength of the belief does have effects in energy and can echo into the lower astral realms easily because the material of the lower astral is so vibrationally close to physical materiality. So the strength of a belief, the energy put into it, into holding it to be true, can ripple into the astral realm and to some degree a little bit leak into the etheric shell. Therefore, it can still have consequences even though the being itself may not be experiencing those things in exactly the same way that it did when it was physical and holding on to those beliefs. But there is a gray area, a buffer zone, in which certain beliefs in physical reality can still have to some degree ripple effects or consequences in the lower astral vibrations.
And so those individuals who have passed, are in a low vibrational state, they're still wandering earth in a sense, having negative emotions, they don't want to reincarnate, so they just wander around as ghosts in their miserable emotions, and they're very lonely. What can we do to help those beings?
Always send love, always send light, and allow yourself in a state of appreciation and gratitude for their existence to send a vibration that speaks of and shows of telepathically with images the idea of the beauty and glory of the spirit world, the full color. Send them that energy and allow them to experience whatever they're willing to absorb. But again, just like anything in physical reality, whatever you share with them doesn't mean you get to control or decide what they do with it. What they do with it is none of your business because they have their own path, just like any physical being still. So the idea is to send them those images of a beautiful place, of their true self, their self-empowerment, wrap them in unconditional love to allow them to understand what the vibration of the spirit world is actually like, but then let them do with whatever you send, with whatever they will do with it.
This person is saying her grandmother passed away, and then she had a dream where she woke in the middle of the night and saw her as light. But she wasn't sure if it was a dream or not since she was so sleepy. Was the person dreaming or were they awake? And how can you tell when something is real?
Well, again, the idea that it may have partially occurred in a dream state or a partial dream state is simply an indication that it might be easier for the spirit to reach you in that state when some of your physical thought process is kind of out of the way or on hold. So it's still real. It's just that it might be an easier state for the spirit to make a connection in. So it may feel a little bit dreamy, a little bit out of physical reality. That doesn't mean it's not real.
And previously you said that in our near future we'll be able to interact more with our loved ones who have departed. And can you expand on that? And why is it that some people have that ability now?
Well, again, either because it's part of their theme that they chose to experience in this life, or they chose to experience something that made their senses a little bit more acute than most. And again, because it's approaching the time for these things to be considered, that in and of itself can make the so-called barriers between physical and non-physical reality a little bit more transparent, in the same way that approaching death in physical life can make your senses more acute to the spirit world. Collectively, approaching certain kinds of thresholds where you're considering the expansion of consciousness and the existence of spirits and so on and so forth can actually allow many people within the physical collective to be able to be more sensitive to the fact that spirits are all around you and make it easier for you to start perceiving them.
How about lucid dreaming and seeing ghosts? How can this, or connecting with dead people, how can one use lucid dreaming in order to have a more heightened experience?
Well, again, in general, lucid dreaming is an experience you're having when you are aware of the fact that you are actually a spirit. Therefore, it's easier to connect to the spirit world because in a lucid dream, you are actually being more of your natural self.
Interesting. Would it help to like call out the name of the person that you want to connect with, or you just have to think of them while you're in a lucid dream?
You can use whatever technique works best for you.
Okay. Is it dangerous to communicate with spirits through the Ouija board? This person's friend had contacted something, but I think it was just an animal spirit or something, since it didn't make much sense to the other person.
Let me put it this way. You have certain symbols on your planet that have certain collective definitions attached to them, so to speak. So it's not in general dangerous, but the idea of the way most people in your society think of the Ouija board actually allows them to expand the idea into a more negative vibration, because that's what you bring to it going in for the most part. So in other words, that you've set yourself up by defining the Ouija board as a dangerous instrument. Therefore, that can create the sensation of connecting to ideas or things or entities that are less than ideal vibrationally. But it's not because connecting to spirit is dangerous, and it's not intrinsically because of the device that may be used as a permission slip to do so, but because of the definition you've imparted to that device that may lower your vibration and make you more aware of matching lower vibrational entities.
And this person is saying, my understanding is that chakras are of the etheric body, while ghosts are basically an astral body on the astral plane. Can you clarify this?
For the most part, what you perceive as a ghost is usually in the astral plane, yes. But the idea of the chakras is simply a physical manifestation of certain patterns of energy that go all the way up beyond the astral into the etheric and beyond. It's just the physical representation of the crystallization of certain consciousness patterns and energy connections that you have to the higher forms of yourself.
And are all ghosts that appear to humans originally from Earth, or do some beings come there from throughout the galaxy to join our etheric plane? Did any Greys die in our Earth timeline and become ghosts and or Anunnaki?
This is rare, but the answer in general is yes, it's possible.
Fascinating. And can our spirit guides appear as ghosts? Can they take on a physical ghost body in our reality? And if so, can they travel back and forth from the spirit realm to the body when they choose to?
Those that are very accomplished in doing that, yes, they can, and many times have. There are, again, certain stories that exist in your society where someone assumed they were interacting with a physical being who was helping them in some way, shape, or form, and later discovered that it turned out to actually be a ghost, a spirit guide, or what have you, that was simply capable of lowering their frequency long enough to be able to actually physically assist the living person. So yes, it's possible, and many spirits are accomplished in doing that. It's not necessarily absolutely common that spirits do that, for they may all have different proclivities in terms of what it is they feel necessary to learn to do, because it is an accomplishment to learn to go back and forth that easily between non-physical and physical reality. But some are quite adept at it.
Interesting. This person is saying that their understanding is that when our physical earthly body dies, we move to another dimension. From that new dimension, do we remember our earthly experience and those of our fellow humans that we left behind? Do we see their grief and try to console them by visiting them? Can our loved ones that have passed on manipulate electricity and move things to let us know they're visiting? If we don't remember our earthly experience, how do we learn from it?
No, you remember everything. Again, you don't lose anything. You have more heightened awareness of every single second of your experience on Earth. Every single second. You lose nothing. So, yes, the answer is yes. Spirits can do the things that you're talking about. Again, depending upon how adept they are at doing that or how necessary it is for them to do those things.
Do some people practice being ghosts during different states, such as dreams or death edits or pre-birth?
Yes. Many people practice being spirit guides for the time when they will actually function as such, when you are in the dream state, when you're out of your body, so to speak.
And you've mentioned that some observations of ghosts are actually events which have been etched onto the fabric of space-time and are replaying themselves. What causes events to be recorded like this, and what triggers the replays?
Well, again, remember, nothing is lost. Information is everywhere. So the idea is that everything is accessible here and now from anything that's ever happened or will happen in any parallel reality. It just depends on your focus. The idea of what may cause a replay may be the energy of the person that is interacting with that particular frequency for some reason. Many things can trigger such a thing. Collective consciousness can do it based on stories they've been told and legends they've been told about what it is they expect to experience in a particular location. That can trigger it. But many things can trigger it. It's, again, just like simply going to a place or being in a state where something is recorded and suddenly, for some reason, being of the correct vibration to suddenly have a replay.
Okay. And are there ghosts in the White House?
Yes.
Can you say anything else about it?
All we are allowed to say is that Dolly Madison often visits.
Interesting. So, well, this session, we pretty much focused on all the questions about ghosts and spirits and everything. And in the future, we'll come back to some other questions. But thank you so much for all your sharing today and helping us have a happy Halloween.
We wish you all a happy Halloween in the spirit of the season. And do remember that you are all spirits having a human experience. And on that note, please enjoy your upcoming meditation.
Bashar, Shauna here from New Hampshire. I have a question about CE5 and making contact with extraterrestrials. I understand that I can follow the formula to raise my vibration and to begin to perceive things I don't currently perceive. I understand that I can use my imagination in regards to connecting with the hybrid children. This is more about going out underneath the stars with the intention of peaceful contact, much like what Stephen Greer is doing with his CE5 groups. I was with him for a weekend, not me personally, me and 500 other people were with him for a weekend in April. And many of the things, not many of the things, but some of the things that he did or taught us to do in order to participate or host a CE5 group really didn't resonate with me. So I was curious. I thought, well, let me go right to the source. So if someone like myself wants to go out underneath the stars with the intention of being a peaceful ambassador and with the intention of making contact with extraterrestrial beings, what is it that you recommend that someone like I do in regards to meditation, intention? Stephen Greer uses certain tones. I also am curious on whether or not I would benefit by creating an altar. And I'm getting the impression it's really about personal preference, but I was hoping that you might be able to share with me and whoever else is interested in this topic something that we may do out underneath the stars in order to make contact or vector in extraterrestrial beings. Thank you so much. Good day.
There are many things you can do, but again, I recommend that you do it in your own way, whatever you're attracted to do. You could hum, you could ohm, you could sing, you could recite poetry. Whatever it is you're attracted to do is what you need to do. Follow your passion. Follow the guidance of your higher mind by following your passion. It's that simple. Don't make it overcomplicated.
Good day, Bashar.
Good day.
You can hear me okay, great. Do you say good day on your planet? Is that just something Earth people do?
It is a translation of our greeting.
Oh, interesting. So you guys greet each other just like us?
Well, not exactly. It's a translation. Ours happens all completely telepathically. But
Right.
it's a good translation. It's a good translation. It's a sufficient translation into your language.
Right, but there's a commonality that we greet each other. We don't just start talking.
Yes, in a sense, there is always some sort of indication that you are being contacted or connected to something. Yes.
Oh, interesting.
It's like the idea of calling out in some way, shape, or form to allow a certain alignment to happen, to know that you are being connected with as an individual. So on your planet, good day will do.
Lovely. And are you only able to connect with me through my voice, or is there some other way that you're reading me?
I am reading energy patterns that come to us as a form of language, of shapes, colors, sizes, vibrations, frequencies, so on and so forth.
When I'm silent, are you able to still read those, or do I have to speak for you to be able to line up with those?
We can still read the silence, but the idea is that when you speak, an intention is formed that changes the pattern dramatically and thus allows us an indication of where it is you're going.
Well, thank you for being here and talking with us. We all appreciate this. I appreciate this. Thank you.
As we appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Great. This is fun. This is great. Do I have a more direct line of communication with my higher mind right now talking with you?
Yes, because we represent your higher mind. It's like you're talking with your higher mind by using us as a mask, as an excuse, as a reason to have easier communication with your higher mind.
Okay, so can you help me understand the energy? Because I kind of feel like telling my higher mind to kiss my ass for some reason. I don't know why, but I just feel like being cheeky and just kind of telling it off and kind of pissed off at it. What would be the reason for that? What's the energy behind those feelings I'm having?
Well, you might be assuming that the higher mind does things it doesn't actually do.
Yeah.
You might be more upset with your physical mind and the belief system embedded within it.
I think
the higher mind only feeds the energy, only sends the energy that makes you aware of what's going on in the physical mind. It's an illuminator. It's not a causation.
Thank you. It's an illuminator. Yeah. All the time?
All the time.
Wow, that's a good insight. I was going to ask you, is there some advice my higher mind could share, with this direct line of communication, perhaps a stumbling block?
Yes, well, again, first and foremost, remember that the higher mind speaks in energy terms, and therefore the physical mind's translation, the physical body's translation of those energy messages is the idea of passion. That's how you interpret messages from the higher mind telling you who you actually are and how you need to act and what path you can walk. The idea of the belief systems within the physical mind can counter that, and that may be what you're upset about.
Lovely. Thank you. Okay, so there's a teaching on this planet by a number of authors that sort of talk about how to deliberately create your reality. And the technique that they generally agree on is that you're going to impress your subconscious mind using your imaginations and your emotions, sort of vividly imagine the reality you wish to participate in.
Yes.
And particularly right before you go to sleep in the hypnotic state.
Yes.
Can you talk about that? Because I don't hear that from you or...
Yes, we have talked about that, but we usually use the terminology of visualization to refer to what's happening there energetically. The idea is it's all well and good to do it that way, but the important difference in what we're telling you is that as soon as you get to the point where you have An idealized picture of what you can imagine with your physical mind is the highest representation of the outcome that gets you really excited, then you drop the picture and keep the excitement by making a space for what the higher mind actually needs to bring you, because your physical mind may not necessarily have an accurate portrayal of what the best outcome could possibly actually look like.
You're dropping the insistence, but you're also initiating a particular state of being. That is deliberate creation. Okay.
Exactly. So it's the state of being that's important in doing that, not the picture, except for the fact that the picture is your symbol, your representation of what gets you into that state, so that when you then stop insisting on that particular outcome, then you make room for whatever the outcome actually needs to look like.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is the Bible a literal story of historical events and facts?
Well, not literal, in many cases symbolic, but it is representative of some history, although there is a lot of changes and interpretations that have been posed upon it.
I feel like most people interpret the Bible on this planet more literally, and yet it's actually meant to be more of a metaphor or allegory. Would you say that's accurate?
Some things are representative of actual historical events that may sound allegorical. Some things are really just metaphorical. But again, do remember that even the people that say they take the Bible literally don't take all of it literally.
Okay.
Because again, if they did, they would be doing things that your society frowns upon now.
Interesting. How important is it that I participate in some of the contact supporting events, like putting a picture in my window to help acclimate with the idea of an alien? How important is that for me to actually participate in that stuff versus if I don't, in order to actually get to participate in that reality, like I'm trying to ask, if I don't bother with it, am I going to miss out on, be able to have that ET contact and ride in a spaceship? Or is that sort of thing just like a major theme that is my destiny, that I'm not going to miss it?
It's a permission slip that will work for many people. The only way you'll really miss out on it is being worried that you'll miss out on it.
Lovely. So let's talk about importance. Certain people, okay, so my question is it more important, say, to help feed the homeless versus play a video game? Or, there's other examples where people think they're so important when they're making lots of money, and then a little kid who's maybe playing outside feels that's very important to him. How do you gauge importance?
Again, it depends upon whether you're being honest and in alignment and true with the idea of what you're truly passionate about, and knowing that when you actually act upon your true passion, you will also be being in service to others. It will guide you in a way that will allow that to be obvious.
Well, now you're making it sound like being in service to others is more important.
It is what happens naturally when you act on your passion, because being in your passion is being true to yourself. And that's the most important thing, because it allows everything else to happen that needs to happen synchronistically.
I wish I had more questions. You've answered them all. It's just so lovely to spend this time with you. Thank you.
Our pleasure, our passion, and our unconditional love to you as well. Good day. Ave.